but I think that his soul is from Sicily, so I will call him a Sicilian chef.
Sicilian.
Yeah, he is living in Sicily. We met her last summer when we went there.
You are so popular, Alicia. Oh my gosh. You know everybody. Do you know any chef in Israel, maybe?
I
don't know any chef in Israel.
But not in Israel, but from Israel. Yeah, I know. But Michael, we met, as I was saying, in last summer in Sicily. We did a whole Iceland trip. And Michael is in Palermo. That is spectacular city, and the food is amazing. So he showed us Palermo, the markets, and then we cook with him in his. He have like a kind of small school, home culinary school. So we went with him. We cooked the calamari and many street food from Palermo, and was an amazing day. So I asked him to participate since the beginning. He said yes, and he participated actually in the I think 2 or 3 of the lessons, and he was absolutely in. So Michael, I will let yourself to introduce you.
Okay.
And one only thing, I want to remember to everybody to mute themselves so we can hear and see Michael all the time. Michael, welcome.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, and you have to be patient with me. This is my first time doing a virtual lesson. I've done many lessons. Just to plug myself, my school is called the Sicilian Pantry. So if you want, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram. I keep putting photos up, whatever. So first of all, let's do a little check that we have everything we need. So I'm going to try and change camera. And hopefully, okay, so things we need. We should have a pot of boiling water. Yeah? It's boiling. Everyone's checking. We should have tomatoes. About 1 kilo. We should have some fresh basil. We should have a big onion or a couple of smaller onions. This is a red onion from Tropea. We should have a big eggplant or a couple of small eggplants. Yeah? Okay. And we should have some pasta. Now, the cheese, let me see. The cheese for this is normally ricotta salata. Oh, I'm frozen. Oh, here we go. Sorry. So this is ricotta salata. If you don't have ricotta salata, you can use pecorino, parmigiano. Obviously, if you can get some, this is the best stuff. But anyway, this is our ingredient list. Very, very simple. So, is everybody ready? Yeah? Okay. Oh, that's good. All first thing we need to do, let me just clear some space. The first thing we're going to do is to skin our tomatoes, okay? So I want you to put a little X in the bottom. Okay? Let me change camera. Okay. So a little X.
Excuse me, dear. We must peel it, or we can leave it like this without peeling.
Okay, good question, because what I'm going to show you how to do is basically how you would make a big amount of tomato sauce. Okay, and it's a very similar procedure. But the difference is we're going to make a small amount. Now, normally when we make the big amount of tomato sauce, when I say a big amount, I'm going to show you one of my pots for making tomato sauce. This is one.
Oh my, look.
Okay?
Amazing.
So when we make tomato sauce, obviously it's a different kind of animal because we have two big pots like this. Then we take the tomatoes, we wash them, we just cut them in half. We cut them in half to check there's no black bits. So if it's black, you throw it out. There's no black bits, it goes in the good pile. Then we put everything in the pot and we let it slow cook, because obviously a pot like this takes hours to boil, even with a big strong flame. So this slow cooking makes everything happen very slowly. The onions start to melt. The basil starts to give its flavor into the sauce very slowly. So we're going to try and replicate that. Now, what I would do at home, what I would do if you have it, I don't know if you guys have this or not, but if you have, like every Italian home will have a pasta pomodoro.
You know this?
Okay, which is just a way of, it's a sieve, basically. It's a sieve for pressing the pulp of the tomato through, and all the skin and the seeds will be left behind.
I see. Okay, thank you, Michael.
Obviously, when we do the big pot, we have a big machine which does this.
Okay.
So it's a bit faster. So by peeling it, it means that if we don't have this machine, you can still make a sauce. And you're still going to have a couple of choices. So I think the easiest thing is, let's forget about that. Let's peel them, and then we'll do it like that. Okay? But if you have a machine like this, then you can do it without peeling. Okay? So once again, we're going to cut a little X, if you can see it. And this is the ideal sort of tomato, the kind of long, fleshy one. And what I will say is, like here, these are just starting, so they're not ripe yet. This is not the ideal time for making this in Sicily. So they're not quite ready yet, but it'll do the job. So let's cut them all. Change this. Okay, one. Okay. And the idea is you don't want to cut through to the juice. You want to cut just the skin. And this is where a small serrated blade is the best, because it cuts it just so easily.
Michael, sorry, only remember for the people to put the pot with water to boil, no?
I asked the first question. Everybody should have a pot of boiling water, yeah? Everybody has it? Yes, okay. Okay. So I'll wait for everybody to catch up. Is everybody ready? Give me thumbs if you're ready. Oh, I'm not looking at that. Okay. Mostly good, mostly good. Is anybody not ready? Thumbs down? No thumbs down. Okay. So, pot of boiling water. Now, the other thing you should have, before we start to put them in, the other thing you should have ready is a bowl of cold water. Do you have a bowl of cold water ready? If not, get a big bowl and fill it with cold water. Because as soon as they start to cook, we need to stop them cooking. Okay? Okay, back to boil. A couple seconds. So I don't know if the steam is maybe going to fog the camera. Okay, so what we can start to do is to put our tomatoes into the water, the boiling water. Okay. Now, the amount of time they stay in here depends on how ripe or unripe the tomatoes are. So what I normally do is I keep them in there until I start to see the skin split. Okay, so it can even be just a couple of seconds if they're very, very ripe. These are not so ripe, so it's going to take a bit longer. So I just keep checking them, and as soon as they start to split. Okay, so for example, here is one which is starting to split open. So now I've got a good idea that they're probably all okay. So now I'm going to take them with a slotted spoon and put them straight into the cold water. Once I start to see them split. Oops. Okay, I can turn this water off, but I'm going to keep this for cooking the pasta. As long as the tomatoes were washed, the water's fine. So I'm going to actually keep this for the pasta. Okay. So now the tomatoes are out. We can take them out of the water. Then we start to peel them. Once they're cool. Okay. So you want a box somewhere to put your the leftovers, the bits you don't want, the trash. So now, hopefully, again, these are not the best. These are not the best tomatoes, but hopefully you should be able to just nick in under a corner, and then it should start to just peel the skin off. Okay. Now, the other reason I like the serrated knife is if it doesn't quite come, I can start to just peel it off with the knife. If there's a little bit left behind, it doesn't matter, okay? So we can start to try and peel the rest of them. If anybody has any questions, please feel free.
I'm still thinking about the size of your pot. Oh my gosh, never saw such a thing.
Michael.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't know if you can see me, but for example, here in Turkey, the season for this tomato that you have is didn't start yet. So we have those ones.
That's fine. You know, you can use it as long as they're kind of red. The idea with these ones, because these have just started here, to be honest, again, they're a little bit what I would call tight. They're not the best. And the best time for these is normally at the end of summer. That's when everyone makes their tomato sauce here, is like at the end of August. When you've got
so if it's in winter, would it be okay to use canned tomatoes, also this kind?
Allora, to be honest, what most people use for pasta alla Norma here is, so you make all your tomato sauce in the summer, and it's the tomato sauce you make is what goes into the pasta alla Norma. So all we're doing here is we're making a fresh sauce. If you have a good quality canned tomato sauce or good canned tomatoes, yeah, you could use them. I would tend to use this just, or a pre-made sauce, or make it fresh.
So Alicia, what kind of tomato we have in Turkey? How do you call it?
I am not.
Yeah, but you know, in maybe 1 month we will have the same that Michael have, but they are more warm now in Sicily.
You cannot find the same tomatoes in Turkey. In Italy, there are different kinds of tomatoes.
You can find it maybe in 1 month, but for now we have this.
Yes,
we have 3 kinds now.
Like this, yeah.
I understand that the tomatoes in Turkey are very good.
Very good.
They were very good. Now, as in all the world, is kind of plastic tomato, sadly.
Okay.
Not like Sicily.
Sicily, again, it depends on always the producer, whether it's good or not. And when it comes to like time to be serious, so when I go to buy my tomatoes for making lots of sauce, I have my tomato pusher. So I go on an extra special errand to fill my car full of crates of tomatoes. If you look at the Instagram page, you'll find a couple of photos of the car absolutely stuffed with tomatoes.
I still remember the flavor of those tomatoes. 2 things: tomatoes and seafood.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But again, even like with Sicily, it depends where you go. Anywhere coastal, obviously seafood is really important. But if you go inland a little bit, it can change completely.
Michael, we got a question from one of the participants
Yes.
asking whether there is any particular reason why there is no garlic in the sauce.
Allora, okay. That's a good question and a very topical question, okay? Basically, for Sicilian food and more Palermo food, as I've been instructed how to make it, let me change so you can see my face. Okay, so as I've been taught how to make Sicilian food, basically if you're making something fresh from scratch, you very rarely mix garlic and onion. So it's either garlic or onion. It's not both. If you have a pre-made tomato sauce with onion in it, the rules are more flexible. Then you can flavor it with garlic. But normally you cook with garlic or onion. And in this case, because one thing we need to be really careful of, when you make a tomato sauce in Sicily, the key element, the key thing you're looking for is that it is sweet. Tomato sauce should be sweet, okay? If it's not sweet, it's wrong. And the reason I like to use the onions, and why most people, not everybody has their own maybe variation of how they make their sauce, but mine's very classic, just with onions and basil. So, and the reason why you use onions is because, especially when you slow cook them, we're gonna go a bit fast today, but when you slow cook the onions, they become very sweet. That's the reason, that's always the goal, to make a sweet tomato sauce. Because maybe you're thinking that garlic should be in every Italian meal.
At least it's like it's in Israel. Everything you have garlic.
It's not
In
true.
Israel, everything you have garlic.
Oh, in Israel, everything.
Yeah.
Obviously, different cuisines. This is. I have to tell you though. I mean, you can do a test because working in restaurants in Palermo, you eat a lot of pasta with tomato sauce. Okay. And there was one place in particular I worked in, and they bought this passata, this kind of like, which is just passata is just kind of crushed tomatoes, if you like. It's not really cooked. And they bought it especially for the staff because it was cheap and it was terrible. So normally, if we had not much time, which was usual, we would heat up some garlic in the pan and some oil. And then you add the tomato sauce and you let it cook for about 10 minutes. You add salt, sugar, whatever you need to. You discard the garlic. A lot of the time when you're cooking with garlic, certainly in the Palermo area, you don't actually eat the garlic. You cook the garlic in the oil and then you throw it away. Okay.
No, I remember. I was trying to remember when we went in your kitchen.
Sí.
that you put those garlic in a lot of oil. And you say something about the oil, olive oil and the garlic. I am trying to memorize, to remember what was. But was something like Sicilian food must have a lot of garlic and a lot of olive oil, or I am wrong.
Normally it's about being generous with time, because what I would say when you make the sofrito, because sofrito is when you like fry it normally again in onion or garlic at the start of the dish, and you need to be generous with oil and time. So everything is slow. So even when you do a sofrito with onion, it goes in the pan normally cold. Lots of olive oil, and always extra virgin olive oil, and then you slowly bring it up to a sizzle. And the longer you can leave it, the better, because you want the onions to break down to become sweet. So the tomato passata that we had it often with garlic. If we had the time and remembered, we would do the onion. So it takes a lot longer. So we leave it for half an hour, really slow, and then we have the passata and cook it all together. If we were feeling extravagant, we would do both, just to change, garlic and onion. And after eating this many, many, many times, because when I came to Sicily, I was like, okay, onion and garlic, always together. But after eating this pasta with tomato sauce many times, I started to realize the best is either garlic or onion. It's not both. Because I think when you talk about, like, a lot of Sicilian cooking is so basic, it's so stripped down. I think when you start to mount lots of flavors together, it becomes confusing. Okay. Now, different cuisines, I love making curry and things like that, which have lots of spices. And then it's a completely different game. Okay. Because then, yes, you need the onion and the garlic and the ginger and the chili, and you need turmeric and all these things. And then it's about a balance of all these things. But when it's really stripped down, it's just tomato, basil, and onion. If we add garlic to this, that's going to be a big extra factor. Okay. And what you're actually going to do is take away from the effect of the onion.
You know that there is a famous chef, Alessandro Carnavoccioli. He's from the Naples. Do you know him?
No.
Ah, okay. He's very famous in Italy, very first chef. He is from the Naples. He's using also, from Naples. He's using also garlic like this in this way.
Yes.
How you tell me,
There's a lot of connection between Naples and Sicily.
Naples, yeah, that's right. He's
for historical reasons.
But he's living in the north part of Italy, but he's from Naples.
Yeah.
He's doing the same way,
In fact, at one period, Naples and Sicily were called the two Sicilies.
That's right. I know. My husband is Italian.
Ah, okay. Well, I want to move on just quickly, because now we need to start preparing the tomato. Hopefully, you've got most of the skin off of your tomatoes. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to cut them into quarters. Okay. Now here, what I want to cut out is the little white bit. Okay. So again, let me try it. So I want to cut out this white bit. Essentially, when it's on the plant, the stick goes into here, the twig, and then this is the continuation of the wood. So we want to get rid of that because it's quite woody. It doesn't have a lot of flavor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these out. Okay, just like that. And I'm going to take the, if there's any pips or juice, I'm going to take those, and I'm going to discard the pips and the juice. Just as my thing. Obviously, if there's a little bit left behind, it doesn't matter. But we just want to get the most of the juice out. And then we're going to keep those, and we're going to do this with all of them. So
you're going to take all the everything from inside the tomato.
Yeah, but again, we don't need to be too fussy. I run a finger down it and get whatever comes out. So a quick clean like that.
Julia, look what I'm using.
Are you using? I'm happy.
It's perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Available. That's right. You can use it.
What is it? Show us. What is it?
It is a tool. Did you remember where you make the zucchini for taking out? I bought for Isra. She couldn't find it.
Do we have it, chef? Something to take from inside the. It's a special one. No? No, she said there is a special one.
But you can see these are quite pale. They should be darker, but not to worry.
Michael, I have a question.
Yes.
I found only packery or penne. Which one do you think is better?
What is it?
Packery or penne?
Either is good. I
Both.
think your choice, you know, the traditional is rigatoni, but really like rigatoni is the step between penne and packery. So you can go either smaller or bigger. It's up to you. For me, they're both good.
Because yesterday I was looking for the rigatoni. I didn't find in any store in Ankara.
No, it's fine. I worked in a place where we did packery. We did pasta alla Norma with packery, but we actually stuffed the packery. Let me change.
Did you know, Michael, that Turkey is a fantastic place for pasta because they have a factory of a Barilla's factory. And so you can find pasta in the supermarket at 1/5 of the price.
Well, I have to say, I prefer not to talk about Barilla.
No, but you find the Checo too. So.
Obviously, for things like this is, you know, I'm pretty sure there's going to be good producers in Turkey. I know that there's, because we've had Turkish guests come through the school and had lots of chats about cooking. I know that there's places where they make estratto di pomodoro, this sort of sun-dried tomato extract. So you take tomato sauce, you put it on wooden tables, and you let the sun dry it until it becomes a thick paste. Does anybody know about this? Because I always thought it was a Sicilian thing, but then I had a girl from Turkey and she said, no, we do this. Oh, fair enough.
Perfect.
They make some very delicious sun-dried tomatoes here in Turkey. And actually, I only discovered them recently at our local grocery store. Migros and Makro have them, with very nice oil and kekik spices, and they're still soft because they're packaged, you know, in this bag that keeps them soft and very delicious.
Nice.
And I'm taking them back with me to Lithuania.
Okay, nice. But Sicily is a very famous place for grain. And because of that, and because of like some recent trends, you get a lot of really good artisanal pasta. Now it can be expensive, is the downside, but if you buy 100 packs at a time, it's actually cheap enough. So this means you have a lot of pasta.
Does anybody knows if there is a whole grain pasta in Turkey?
Yeah. You can find in Metro and in Panora.
Good to know.
Actually, they have, I was surprised yesterday looking for this pasta. Then they have many kind of pasta in Metro. Like, how is the name? Remolacha. Claudio. Remolacha. Beetroot pasta and spinach and a lot of things that you cannot find, for example, in Migros or in another supermarket. And then
Thank you.
Beetroot pasta.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Red.
We're almost done.
Good, me too. Now, if you had the sieve, the pasta pomodoro, pretty much all of this you can avoid. You would just take the tomatoes, cut them in half or into quarters and cook them. You'd maybe scoop out the juice again if you're doing a small amount.
I have a question, Michael.
Yes.
I did mine before because, you know, as Italian how.
Because
But mine have a lot of juice. I need to drain them, or what do you think?
With the extra juice?
Yeah, I will show you. I did before.
Yes.
So now it's leaking. a lot of juice. I need to drain it.
Okay. Well, I mean, what I'm doing here is actually discarding the juice.
Okay.
But again, this would be the process if I was slow cooking it. We're going to go a bit faster today. If you want to use that juice, it's fine. What I would do is try and get, you know, keep the seeds out of it.
Okay.
But I'm throwing all the juice away here.
But chef, for this dish, we don't need the liquid of the tomato.
No. The idea would be, again, if we can slow cook it, we only really want the flesh, because the flesh will dissolve with the onions and it will become the sauce. Okay? Whereas the water will just sort of take up space. But because we're going to do this quicker, so the water would actually help. So, because I'm actually going to add some water, because we're going to have to cook it quite fast. Of course, when we cook it fast, we make a lot of steam. And if we make a lot of steam, it's drying out. So we're going to have to keep an eye on it, that it doesn't actually burn. But again, I'm just doing all the steps so that in an ideal world, this is what you would do. Okay. 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 So now I get a pot. Oh, you can't see. So last step. Okay. So again, we're gonna have a couple of choices here. What I'm going to do is make a sort of a rustic sauce. So I'm not going to blend it. If you're going to blend it, you can put the pieces of tomato in as they are, okay? But what I'm going to do is actually chop them up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is just take the strips and just cut them into a few chunks like that, okay? What's going to happen then is, once it's ready, I'm going to leave it chunky. So it's like a rustic sauce.
So we cut it for small pieces.
Yes. Once we have it, we can put it into the pot. So whatever pot you're going to use to cook the sauce in, it can go straight in.
Take some lettuce and herbs. Go to the garden. You can take from food, chef, from what you clean. You can take from
Okay. How's everybody doing? Good?
time. 2 minutes we need.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to prepare is the onion for this. Okay, and I want to show you a little tip. You might already know this, or you might have a better way, but this is my way of peeling an onion. So I have my onion. And what I do is I cut the top, but not the whole way through. So I cut it and I let it hang, okay? Then I do the bottom and I do the same thing. I cut, but not the whole way through. Now, I go down the middle. Obviously, if you need onion rings, you can't do it like this, but we don't. So I go down the middle, but again, not the whole way through. So what I do at the end, I peel it open, and the onion should just peel out.
Can you show again, Chef?
But I need to put the onion back in the skin. I'm joking. I've got another onion.
It's perfect, Michael.
Okay, so again, this is something that I started to do whenever you have to peel. Obviously, if you're peeling 1 or 2 onions, it doesn't matter how long it takes. When you have to peel 20 kilos of onions, you kind of want to get as efficient as possible. So what I would do is I would do all the cuts with the knife. So I would leave all the onions in a pile, you know, with the little slits in it. Then I would set the knife down and then I would do all the peeling. So then I'm left with all just a pile of clean onions to cut with. So I'll do it again. Okay, I have my onion and I go through the top or the bottom, but not the whole way. So it's still hanging on. If you cut the whole thing off, it doesn't matter too much. To me, it makes the next step easier. So now I'm going to cut it down the middle. And again, trying not to cut the whole way through. So it's all still held together. Okay? Next stage is I just peel it open and it should just come up. So now I have my clean onion, I don't have the dirt from the bottom, and I'm ready to cut. Okay?
Thank you, Michael, because I use lots of onion in my Mediterranean cooking. So that's the perfect way of doing it very quickly.
It works with some onions better than others. Sometimes it doesn't happen at all, but for me, this is the easiest and quickest way to do it. For some chefs, what they don't like about this is by taking away the little bit of root at the bottom. Some chefs like to keep that, so they cut up to it, and then they throw it away. So they have something to hold on to while they're cutting the whole way up. The way I do it, there's nothing left now to hold on to. It's all good stuff, if you like. But the benefit for me is without that little bit of root, there's no risk of contamination of the rest of the food with bits of dirt or something that can come out of the root. So I prefer to do it like this because then it keeps everything cleaner.
I am having difficult time with mine. Look, Claudia was successful, but mine was not.
Sometimes it works better than others. The best way to practice it, obviously, is if you're going to make an onion soup or something and you're going to like peel 10, 12 onions.
Yeah, mine also is not successful.
Okay, it's okay.
I was left with a small one. See?
The small one.
Michael,
And the big.
Yes.
Michael, do you need someone in the kitchen to peel the onions? I am a volunteer.
I think that the military service is necessary step to do this.
Okay, so now we have Now we have our peeled onion. So what I'm going to do is cut it in, cut some little strips like this. Okay, so just 2 cuts lengthways, but that's because mine is thin. So if it's thicker, maybe you're going to do 4 cuts, maybe 5 cuts. What I don't do is I don't cut the whole way to the end, so it's still all held together. And once I have that, I'm going to cut into little strips. So it should be like little slices, little tiny slices. Okay? More or less.
Michael, sorry, I couldn't see. What did you do? Can you show me again?
Yes. So what we kind of want is like little slices. You can do whatever way you want. I just, with this kind of rustic tomato sauce, I like to have these pieces of onion. So we're going to see these. If you don't want to see them, you could blend it. Some people will blend the onion. So the onion is kind of free range, but this is the way I like to do it for this sauce.
I like to see it too. We are from the Middle East, you know. The Middle East, we like a big size of onion.
Oh yeah. I want to feel, you know, my son, I have a 5-year-old son, he's different. He doesn't want to know that there's onions in it.
Well, this is one of the advantages of the Middle East. A big onion, big of everything.
Ah, okay. I like it. Okay, so I'm going to do the other one. Okay. And all of this again is going straight in the pot with our tomatoes. Okay. How are we doing? So I'll let everyone catch up. Next thing, and this again is sort of mirroring what we would do with when we do the big pot of sauce, because we just put, we just wash the basil and put in the whole bunch. In fact, you'll put in a pot like this, we put about, how much? I think it's like 3 kilos of basil. But in this case, what I'm going to do, I'll take a stalk of basil, and what I want to see is if there's a nice little ciuffetto, a little small bunch at the top that's pretty, I'm going to take this off and I'm going to keep it to the side, because I'm going to keep that for decorating the plant, the plate. Okay, but with the rest of this whole stalk is going to go in the pot. So I'll do another one. So I take
So everything, not only the leaves.
I'm putting everything. As long as it's been washed and dried, it's good.
Not dry.
But the only thing to check is that I'm keeping, again, the little ciuffetto. I don't actually know how to say it in English.
So if we're not using a hand blender because our hand blender is packed away, should we chop the basil?
No. Again, because we're making a rustic sauce, what will happen, because I'm only putting 2 stalks in, they'll be really easy to find. So what I'll do is at the end, I'm going to pull them out. And I'm going to leave the leaves. The leaves are going to stay in there, and I'm going to leave them whole.
Ah, okay.
So that's
Thank
what I'm
you.
doing.
I was wondering about what to do with those stalks, you know, they're so thick.
No, it doesn't matter. They're going to give it, they're going to impart their flavor.
Okay.
So there's lots of smell and flavor in the stalk as well.
We have a different basil in Turkey. It's sort of purple.
Okay.
So maybe it's stronger flavor. I don't know.
Or maybe
It's not basil. It's reyhan instead.
No,
it is different name in Turkey.
No,
it
but
is different.
Imre, you have
its name
no.
is reyhan.
Imre, this one that you have is have the same flavor but lighter. This one is stronger, the green one.
Ah, the green is stronger. Okay,
But yours is reyhan. Its name is reyhan.
Reyhan.
Yeah, that's right. It's a different kind of taste. Yeah, that's right. This is reyhan.
Okay.
I think it's fine. Put 1 in just to be safe.
I put double to be safe.
Okay, then put double to be safe. The more the merrier, because then you know. It's better to find out properly.
Chef, I have a question.
Yes.
Why did you say to dry the basil? Anyway, we are cooking it. Why do you have to butter?
Oh, just a habit. So when I get fresh herbs,
Okay.
I always wash them and dry them.
I see.
Because
Okay.
if they sit there in water, then they can go off.
All
So
right.
it's just a habit. I always wash and dry everything. I get my vegetables, I wash them and dry them. Wash them.
Okay. Thank you.
You're right, though. In this case, if you're just picking it, you can rinse it and put it straight in. It's fine. Okay, so so now we have tomatoes, onion, basil. Next thing, extra virgin olive oil, 2-3 tablespoons. Be generous.
Generous. Generous.
Next thing, salt. So, salt, I'm going to put in about a quarter of a teaspoon. Maybe a little more. But you always want to put in like less salt than you need because we're going to adjust it at the end. So when I was at school, they always told me, put in half the salt you think you're going to need, whatever that means. And then really important, because I said, if you're making a tomato sauce, the thing here is it has to be sweet. And the recipe, the salsa della nonna, everybody's favorite salsa. They would always talk about, I mean, in Sicily, if salsa is good, they say it's so good, it's like a sugar. È come uno zucchero. It's like sugar. And so I had the chance to work with some nonna in Sicily alongside them. And all of them, when they make tomato sauce, they put in a lot of sugar. So what we're going to do in honor of the nonna is put in a nice big teaspoon. And I know that these are slightly, they're not ripe tomatoes. So I'm going to actually put in another half a teaspoon of sugar now because I know that they need it.
So 1.5 teaspoon.
1.5 I'm putting in. But because I know that these tomatoes are not very sweet. If the tomatoes are very sweet, then obviously you don't need to put so much sugar. Okay. Last thing is, I'm going to add just a splash of water. Okay. If I was slow cooking this, I probably wouldn't even do this. But because we're going to put it on a hotter flame, I'm going to put in...
Hot or warm? Or cold?
Doesn't matter. This is cold. This is room temperature.
So, Chef, if you were slow cooking, what would that mean? How many hours would you be cooking the sauce?
Okay, so for a pot like this, even 2 hours.
Even 2 hours, okay. And you can also
basically putting it. I put it on like the smallest flame I can manage to get in the cooker, like just tiny, just barely lit. I put it on. I put the lid on, and I kind of forget. I leave it there.
Or you could use the multi-cooker. Those multi-cookers?
Maybe, I don't know.
You don't believe in them.
Most gizmos, I don't really know how to use them.
You're a real chef, you see. You don't take shortcuts. Okay.
Michael, it's like
less equipment. I don't need more equipment.
Michael, it's like an Italian bimbi.
Okay.
You know the bimbi?
I know the bimbi, but I've only ever used the bimbi as a blender. I've actually never used it.
Yeah, you have.
But I understand. Yeah, you could use something like that, I guess. If it keeps it a constant, it's going to be better. I've made tomato sauce like this where we put it in a vacuum bag and then we put it in water with a constant temperature and slow cooked it like that. So it's like really, really precise. But most of the time, to be honest, that style of cooking, I'm not really interested. I like pots and fire and things like that. Kind of old fashioned. Anyway, so now we're ready. We got our pot and I'm going to put it on the gas flame. So I'm going to put it on a medium flame. Normally I would put it very low, but this time I'm going to put it medium. And I'm going to put a lid on it, if I can find it. I did have a lid. I found it. Okay. And so now we're going to leave it there and we'll keep an eye on it, keep checking it once in a while. Obviously, if it's like really boiling and drying out, you just want to have some water close by. So get a little jug of water just in case you need to top it up. but that's the sauce kind of taken care of. So it's going. So whatever happens, happens. That's the sauce now. Now we can change our attention to...
I have a question. How much water do we need?
Eh?
How much water do we need? Water? How about water? How much water?
I put in about a cup, half a cup to a cup. But what we're going to do, we're going to keep an eye on it. So if we need to top it up, you don't want to put in like 2 cups or like a lot of water. The water was room temperature because it's all going in, it's all the same temperature. If it was a bit warm, it wouldn't matter because we're heating. Okay, so reset your space, your cooking space.
Chef, in a small heat or medium?
Medium this time. Again, ideally, because we want to get the sauce cooked soon, because we want to eat soon, no? But here, like the concept of a tomato sauce is almost always like something which is already prepared. So if you're doing a tomato sauce, even like this fresh, you'd probably make a lot of it and then keep it for other days. You know, a lot of Sicilian cooking, at least, is with this mentality. You cook a lot of something and then you use it in different recipes for several days.
I have a question, Michael.
Yes.
This pot that you have in your kitchen, how long it last?
The pot?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
The pot with tomato sauce.
The big one?
Yeah.
What do you mean, how long it takes to cook the sauce?
No, how many, ¿cuánto tiempo dura?
Conservation.
For the conservation, you use in the kitchen, in the spoon, or you use, you let them for a long time in your kitchen?
Okay. I use it everywhere. So, I mean, principally for me, it's for the school and then also at home. So, and it'll keep for, I mean, essentially preserved sauce, any preserve will keep for years. All that will happen is that the flavor will disintegrate. If there's a problem with the sauce, if it is not preserved well, you will know about it pretty soon. Normally because the jar will explode. Okay. But if it's been pasteurized, what I do with the sauce, I'll get you a jar. There's one here.
Chef, shall we cover the sauce, the pot?
Yes. Put a lid on. So lid firmly on. So this is a jar of sauce. This one came really, really thick. I don't know if you can see how thick it is.
Yeah, we can see.
But with this one, you can see that the lid is like there's the vacuum. Otherwise, it would be sitting up. So as long as the vacuum's there, I know that this is fine. If there's a problem with bacteria or whatever, it will explode. But when I jar them, so the jars are sterilized and the lids and they're dried. And then we close them when the sauce is hot. So the sauce gets about 110 degrees. And then we put it in the jar and we close it. So it's closed at 110 degrees, so it's pasteurized. And it keeps, anyway. Okay. So now what we want to do is get your oil. So if you have a pan of oil, and put it on the heat.
What is it, water?
This is oil. Oil for frying.
Oil for what?
For frying the eggplants.
Ah, okay.
So the temperature you put it at depends on the size of the pot or the pan. I'm using a pan. This is a frying pan. This is a frying pan with about 3 centimeters of oil in it. This is the very typical way to fry in Sicily. So most people when they're frying at home is in a pan with about 3 centimeters of oil.
You mean the whole bottle?
Hmm?
The whole bottle of oil, actually.
Yeah, but again, it depends on the size of the pan.
This is
So in here, there's about a liter because it's a big pan. But this is where we want to get it nice and hot. Okay, and then with our eggplant. So we're going to take the top and the tail off it. And we can discard those.
Could I just ask a quick question about the oil, because I'm not very experienced with the deep frying. So if we have one of these induction, should it be like 6, 7? What temperature do we put it on? It shouldn't boil, right?
But I mean, oil by itself will not really boil. Okay, it'll go on fire. But with mine is also induction, but it tells me how many watts it is at, and I put mine to 1,800 watts, which is a lot.
Oh. Okay.
So if yours goes from like 1 to 10, you're probably gonna want to put it at 9 at least.
At 9. Okay.
Let it get hot.
Thank you.
So, shall we warm the oil now?
Yes, get the oil hot. We want to get it nice and hot.
Okay.
So if it's gas, I suggest a high flame. This is always relative to the width of the pan. The wider the pan, the higher the flame needs to be. If it's a narrow pot, then a smaller flame will also get it hot.
Michael.
Yes.
We have here in Turkey those eggplants.
Perfect.
Can we use 2 or still 1?
No, I think you're going to want to do 2.
Okay.
I mean, the weight, I put the weight to be about 600 grams. So this is a 600 gram eggplant. If it's a bit more, it's probably better.
You know those ones, no, because the bigs then you have more like seeds inside. Those have not that much.
It's better. No seeds is better.
Okay. Thank you.
But I think you're going to want to use both of those.
Okay.
Chef Michael, I have another question. Yes. A stupid one this time. Can we put, instead of frying, can we put in the oven the...
Okay. No, this is not a stupid question. This is a very common question. This is one of
I know.
My answer is normally really always the same, which is if you're making pasta alla Norma is made with fried eggplant. If you do any other type of eggplant, then it is no longer pasta alla Norma. It is a variation of it. Okay.
I thought that's what you're going to say.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only answer. Of course, you can fry to grill it or do it any other different way if you want. Yeah. But for me, the effect of pasta alla Norma, if somebody serves me pasta alla Norma and I want it, and it comes with grilled eggplant, I'm going to send it back, okay?
Yeah, okay,
because
thank you.
It's the fried eggplant which really gives it that unctuous kind of flavor.
Yeah,
okay?
I'm sure. You don't want to see my weight, so...
What we want to do is now chop this down into about 2 centimeter chunks. So with this one, what I'll do, with any round vegetable, it's kind of, it's dangerous sort of to cut it. It moves a lot. We don't want it to move a lot. So what I'll do is I'll carefully take one slice. So now I have a flat end, and I turn it over on the flat end. So now it's secure. So now it's not going to bubble about. I'll keep this in my first slice, and then I'm going to cut it into more slices. And then
how thick, Michael?
About 2 centimeters. Then with the slices, I'm going to cut these into strips. And then from the strips, we cut it into cubes.
A question about the sauce. Mine is starting to kind of make some noises. Do we stir it or do we let it cook?
No, if you hear it like bubbling and spitting, give it a stir.
Even stir. Okay, thank you.
Also, we want to keep a good eye on it because we don't want it to dry out. So keep checking your oil.
You put the eggplant in the water, the cube.
If it starts to dry out, then yeah, add a little bit of water.
Now when you cut it, the fresh aubergine, do
Yes.
you put it in the water?
Sorry. No. Okay.
Yeah, it looks like water from here.
Almost every cookbook, including Sicilian cookbooks, they will always tell you to take the aubergine and you put it in salt or you put it in salt water and you let the liquid come out, and then you pat it dry and then you use it. Every kitchen I've ever worked in Sicily, nobody has ever done this with the aubergine. So I just don't do it. I think what you got to make sure though is that it's fresh and it's not soft. So here, like going to the market, the eggplants are always really plump. And if it was soft and you start to see wrinkles in it, then I probably wouldn't use it. Can everybody smell the oil? Is there a smell coming?
It's amazing.
Okay. Allora.
So yes, chef, we grew up on putting the aubergine with water with salt for an hour or so.
This is fine. If you want to do it, you can, obviously. I know people here that do it.
Follow your recipe.
I just never have. I've never done it.
Okay.
But I've done it at home, but then when I started to work here, I realized nobody was doing it, and so I stopped doing it.
Okay.
Okay, so now we can check the oil. I'm going to take one piece of the aubergine, and I'm going to set it in the oil. So we're getting a lot of fizzing. This is good. So this oil is ready. Okay? I like to call it violence. So when you see a lot of violence, then the oil is ready, good to go. Now, for anybody that is a little bit scared of how to treat hot oil, here's a little tip. So take a slotted spoon, okay? Take a handful of the bits of aubergine, and we're going to tip the whole thing into the oil. So I'm not going to go near it, but I will put it into the oil and tip it in gently, okay? So this way, I don't need to go near it with my hands. The other thing is, don't try and do it all in one go if you can't fit it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop here, and I'm only going to do this half. So I'll do half now, and then the half in the next batch.
Michael, we will need paper to drain it, or no?
Yes. Allora, what you want to have ready?
Sorry?
You want to have something like a colander. I'm going to use this, which is a sieve. So I'm going to take it out and put it onto here. But you could also use like a colander and put a bowl under it to catch the oil. But the idea with this is the eggplant holds a lot of oil when you fry it. When you put it on a paper towel, the paper towel holds the oil against the eggplant. It doesn't escape. If you think of yourself like if your clothes get wet, you feel wet. So what we're going to do is put it on the sieve or on a colander so the oil actually drips away. There's a chance to escape.
The perfume is amazing in my kitchen.
That's half the battle. Once you got that, then it's a good start.
So you don't put the whole aubergine together, just...
The important thing is that they're not overcrowded in the pan. So you see in my pan, it's like a lot of space.
I see.
So that they're all frying evenly. The other problem is when you're frying with a little oil, not so much oil, when you put the eggplant in, it cools down very quickly.
See.
And you don't really want that. You want to keep it at a steady temperature. So I do a little bit at a time. Also, when you get more used to frying, you can start to play with the temperatures. You start to put it up a bit. When you see it going too fast, you put it down a bit. If it's too slow, you put it up a bit. It's always this kind of little dance.
How long we will fry the eggplant?
Okay, so we're frying it until it gets a good color. So what I want is for it all to be this kind of color. Let me try and
Yeah, like brownish.
show you here. Okay, we want to get a nice brown.
This one.
A nice brown color. This for me is another big, like a lot of places here when you buy, you get a pasta alla Norma. A big mistake for me is when it comes out and the eggplant is white because they haven't fried it long enough. Because the real flavor will come from the color.
I have a question, like this one, like from, let's see, a restaurant. You can cook this eggplant before? How long before? Or we need to do it like just before to eat?
No, alla. So this is normally like a fairly constructed pasta. So the sauce would be ready. The eggplant would be fried. So all you're doing is bringing it together with some fresh basil. So the eggplant you can have fried even like the day before. But in a restaurant service, you say you can fry the eggplant in the morning, and that's going to do you all day. If you run out, then you need to do another batch.
Perfect.
Okay, so these are a nice color. I'm going to take them out now. Okay, and I'm going to put the next batch straight in. Okay. Okay, don't forget to check your sauce. Make sure it's not drying out.
Michael, can you tell us a little bit about you and your project in Palermo?
About me in Palermo, my history. Allora, so I ended up coming to Palermo because I met a girl on an airplane. So we were flying from Argentina to Spain. And anyway, so we kept seeing each other, and then I moved here. When I moved here, So I had some work experience in kitchens and things in Ireland, but not a lot. So, and I kept getting jobs as a waiter because people thought it was interesting to have a waiter that spoke English. Because when I came to Sicily, nobody spoke English. But I decided that if I was going to keep working in hospitality, I preferred to cook. So then that's when they made the decision to go to Alma, which is a cooking school in the north of Italy. Then since then, I came back, I started to work in different restaurants, from like fancy dining to just trattoria. I worked a little while as a private chef. Then I started to work in a cookery school in Palermo, Gambero Rosso Cookery School, just as an assistant. And then I started to work as the head chef at a cookery school in the middle of like nowhere in Sicily. That was great because I got to work with a lot of the women from the local village, and they taught me a lot of stuff. And then I decided to come back to Palermo, and I sort of asked, what can I do? I said, I can do lessons. So then I looked at getting an apartment to do lessons in, started to do lessons. And I was doing lots of lessons until COVID-19 happened, and haven't done any since. So I'm a little rusty.
But you are part of this street food initiative too, no?
Eh?
Are you part of this street food initiative?
Am I proud of the street food?
The initiative, street food, I don't remember the name. In all Sicily, you are part of this or no?
Part of the street food? I don't know. I'm not sure what we need, to be honest.
Michael, can you tell us a little bit about street food in Palermo?
Sorry.
And the importance.
Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, street food is important here as it is everywhere. And a lot of the street food is centered around kind of the leftovers. So there's lots of sandwiches with very interesting fillings. So one of the most famous ones in Palermo is pane con la milza, which is a spleen sandwich. So it's boiled spleen, which is then sliced and stewed in lard, and then served in a bread bun with a squeeze of lemon, sometimes with ricotta, and it's very, very good. It's amazing. But you have to find the right seller. It's one of the most common street foods you'll find here. There's another one called fritola. Fritola is interesting. Now, I know what's in fritola. A lot of people don't. But it's interesting how they serve it. The way to spot fritola is you'll see a man with a trolley. And on the trolley is a big aluminum pot. And this aluminum pot is covered with about 200 tea towels, this mountain of tea towels. So you never see what's in the pot. If you ask him for a sandwich, he'll lift up a corner, he goes in with the bread roll, and it comes out filled, and that's it. You eat it. But what fritola is all of the, if you imagine all the bones left over from the butcher shop. So it's covered in gristle and little bits of tissue, and all of this is scraped off, and that is the fritola. Some of the more common ones, the popular ones now, is the arancina panelle. Arancina is a rice ball, which has a filling.
And arancino.
Arancina in Palermo.
Yeah, but I will ask you about this because I want you to explain this difference between arancina and arancino. But
Okay.
we have Insre with a question because her eggplants is not getting brown.
The
And
oil
she
is
says
not hot.
she need to up the temperature.
You need to top it off as much as possible.
They are not getting brown.
You need to, the oil needs to be hotter, much hotter. A lot hotter, yes.
Okay, now can you explain us, please, the difference between arancina and arancino? Because I have a lot of problem in Sicily with this one.
The only real problem is in the sort of Palermo area, mostly, because this is the birthplace of the arancina. Now, the reason it's called arancina is because it's like a little orange. An orange is an arancia, arancina. Very simple, very straightforward. When you get to Catania, they make these little pyramid, little cone-shaped arancino. Okay, I'm gonna check my sauce 1 second. Okay, I'm putting the temperature up in my sauce. I want it to cook quicker. And the other thing we can do now is put on the water for our pasta. So put the water back on the heat. And we'll let everybody catch up with the frying. So if you've finished frying, make sure you cover your pan or set it carefully out of the way. Because what you don't want to happen is like a bit of water or something to drop into the hot oil, okay? So the arancini, nowadays there's like shops which sell 50 different types of arancina, lots of different flavors. But if you look at the basic ones from Palermo and Catania, they're quite different. So it's okay that they have their own names, but what's a bit upsetting is that the one that has become popularized, the name which is taken up around the world is the arancino, and nobody really knows why, because most of them are still the round shape, little arancina. So the common Palermo flavor ones would be, the very original one would be with just a meat filling, meat and peas, okay? So you make like a ragu, but with no tomatoes, because the original recipe for arancina predates the use of tomatoes. The Arabs made arancina, the rice ball. They introduced rice into Sicily. And so they made this rice ball filled with meat and peas. The tomato sauce didn't arrive until 400 years later, since the first arancina.
Michael, we have a question about the eggplants. One of the participants is asking whether we have to put salt to the eggplants after we fry them.
Okay, good question. To be honest, I do. I normally put a little bit of salt, if I can find it. This again is like, not sure technically if this really makes a difference, but it's just one of those things that when something's fried, it's just, I want to put salt on it. So I'll give it a little sprinkling. And so the arancino, the traditional arancino from Catania, whereas in Palermo, they flavor the rice with saffron. So saffron flavored rice. Whereas in Catania, they use tomato. So this again, like tomato flavored rice, to me, this kind of separates the idea that the arancino is the principal one. The arancina is the principal arancina. And then it's been kind of stepped on by the Catanese one. It's also, for me, I really don't like rice and tomato sauce. I don't think they go well, personally. I just, that's my kind of feeling towards it. Certainly for something prepared like an arancina. Maybe a tomato risotto, that's different, because it's kind of fresh and it's made for that moment. But when you prepare the rice and then you put it together and you fry it, in my opinion, they don't really go. Also the supli, the Roman supli, which is rice with tomato sauce with mozzarella in the middle. It's quite similar. And I'm just not a fan, personally. Another common one would be the panelle. Panelle is like a chickpea fritter. So it's a mixture of chickpea flour and water, and you cook it. It becomes very thick. Then you spread it thin. You take these little fritters and fry them. And again, these would normally be served in a bread roll. It's good stuff. Okay, how are we doing? Is everybody fried? Are people still waiting?
Yeah, I'm still frying. Go slowly.
Can you, is it,
Mine are like this.
If you're having problems, can you show me? Is it possible to let me see the pan with your camera? If it's not working well. Okay, they're fine. They're sizzling. One thing you could do is maybe always in the future is to put less in the pan. So just cut it into doing it a few at a time. And the first thing you want to do before you start frying is always test it. So at the beginning, I don't know if you noticed, I put one piece in. This was to make sure that when it hits the oil, it should start bubbling. If it's not bubbling straight away, you need to wait a little longer. That's okay. Okay, let's check the sauce. So let me see. I'm gonna change the camera so you can see what. This is my sauce at the minute. You can see there's still like chunks of tomato and the basil leaves and the onion are still there. But it's not bad. I did add a little bit of water a while ago, so I'm gonna let it keep cooking. And I'm gonna let it keep cooking right up to the last minute. So while we're waiting for the other people to have the eggplant fried, you can all put the water back on the heat. So the water should be coming up to the boil, okay? Because we're gonna start to cook our pasta. And I don't know if you can see all the oil.
So you say we don't put any tin foil, we don't put any paper towel on this greasy?
No.
No.
If you have a bigger colander, it's even better. The ideal is to have like one layer so that they can all drip.
They can fit, yes, okay. Wow. That's a
This
nice
way the oil drips off.
Yeah.
Because, okay, using a paper towel, if you just give it a quick pat in the towel and that's it, that's fine. So when you're frying with batter tends not to hold on to a lot of oil. So you take the excess oil off and it's done. The eggplant is full of oil.
Yeah, it's full.
This is a big complaint about frying eggplant. But if you put it onto a paper towel, it still holds all the oil in. On this, it allows it to drip off.
Okay.
And then
Michael,
what
I
we'll
have a
do is
question.
sorry?
I have a question. My sauce is getting dry. Look.
It's getting dry?
Yeah, I need to put more water or no?
Yeah, if it dries out, add a little drop of water.
Okay, thank
Because
you.
we want to keep this cooking.
Thank you.
And Alicia, mine is just the opposite. It's very watery. So should I take the lid off or?
Take the lid off and put the heat up.
Okay.
I have a feeling your cooker might be a bit slow.
So I missed it. If it's too liquidy, to take the lid out or to leave it?
Yeah, if it's still too liquid, put the heat up for sure. And then,
the lid out.
yes, at this
Not
stage,
up.
if it's very liquid, you can start to let it dry out a bit.
Thank you.
Okay, is everybody finished frying? Or some people are still frying? Finished?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. That's fine. Is everybody's water on for the pasta? Getting hot?
Hot water?
You want to bring your pot of water to the boil.
Okay.
We need to put salt in the water or no?
You will need to put salt in the water.
No.
Is everybody's water boiling?
Yeah. I mean, I have my.
Okay.
Okay. I'm done.
So, if your water is boiling, or even if it's hot, now we can start to salt the water. This is always a big question. And it's one thing that really annoys me. Almost every cookery book that has Italian food in it, and it comes to pasta, it says, cook your pasta in salted boiling water. And I always wonder, what is salted boiling water? I don't know what that is. How much salt is that? It's really simple. And I don't know why more people don't just write it down. The general rule of thumb for pasta water is in around 10 grams of salt per liter of water. So for every liter of water, you put 10 grams of salt. And so here I didn't measure, I think I've got about 4 liters of water. So that means I'm going to put 40 grams of salt.
Okay, so we have to measure now the water.
This is kind of a rule of thumb. You don't need to worry about it too much, okay?
Okay.
But something to keep in mind.
Okay.
Basically, what will happen is once I salt it, so for me, with this pot, so this is around 4 liters, more or less, I think, maybe 5 liters. And I'm going to put in a big pinch, okay? 1, 2, 3. And that's going to be around 40, 45 grams of salt.
Of salt. Oh my goodness. So what's my cake going to look like tomorrow morning?
It depends how much water there is, okay? If it's 1 liter of water, it's going to be 10 grams of salt.
Okay.
If it's 100 liters of water, it's going to be a kilo.
Come on. So the key is the less water, the less salt. And
Exactly. But the scale works like this. There's a common problem, okay? That happens, I've experienced it many times. You've got the home cook who's perfect, who knows how to make their pasta really, really well. Yeah. Then it comes to Christmas or Easter, and they're going to make pasta for the whole family. So they get the big pot out from under the stairs, they fill it up with water, and they salt it the way they always salt their water. But because it's a bigger pot, they go the same amount of salt, which is perfect, and then a bit more. But for the size of the pot, it's not enough. So the pasta becomes really not salted enough. The other problem is the chef, who's used to working in a kitchen with big, big pots of water, you know, maybe 50 liters.
Yes. Okay.
So they're used to putting in handfuls of salt. So then they come home and they can make pasta for a couple of people, and then it's so salty you can't eat it. Because they put in what they think is a little, and it's actually too much. It's happened to me recently. I went to a friend's house who's a chef, a very good chef, and we couldn't eat the pasta. It was ruined. Like, okay, no thanks.
We can tell about.
So once the salt is dissolved, now another common thing not to get distracted by is I've heard a lot of people say, oh, it should be salty like the sea. No, this is really, really wrong. The sea has about 30 grams of salt per liter. That is a lot. That's way more than I'm talking about. And now, if you do that, it's a mistake you'll only make once.
So how many grams for pasta you need today?
It depends. The recipe I gave was for 4 people, so 400 grams of pasta. The rule of thumb is around, for a full portion, it's about 100 grams of pasta per person.
Thank you.
But what I'm going to do to make sure there's enough salt in my water is I'm going to taste it. I'm going to taste the boiling salty water. Mine doesn't have enough salt. I'm going to add more salt. It should be salty. Like, if it was soup, it would be too salty.
I have to say, I've been tasting this fried aubergine, and it's delicious.
Oh.
But I'm gonna have to go and exercise tomorrow.
Let's go for the pasta. Don't eat at once.
Michael, can you tell us what to do with the cheese, if anything at all, meanwhile?
The cheese, it comes right at the end. We're going to grate it over the pasta.
I have a question about this.
Yes.
I couldn't find the dry ricotta, so
Yes.
I have pecorino. Is this okay?
That's fine. Ricotta salata is the normal one. To be honest, like if you can get pecorino romano, which is normally, I don't know how common it is to get in Turkey, but it's spreading worldwide now. It's a similar kind of cheese. It's quite pale, it's light, but it's salty. And that's what you want. You don't want a really aged pecorino, which is like super, super strong. But a light pecorino is fine.
Okay, it is pecorino romano.
Okay, perfect. That'll do. Has everybody got boiling water? Has everybody got fried eggplant? Can we start to go towards the finish? Okay. So, once you've got your pasta ready and your water salted, the other thing to make sure we have close at hand is a big pan. So a big pan to finish the pasta in, okay? Doesn't have to be this big. It depends how much pasta you're gonna make. This I can make up to about 10 people, so you don't need a pan this big. But my other pan is full of oil, so I'm gonna use this one for now. That's good. So it doesn't need to go on the heat. We just need to get it ready. Make sure it's close enough. This one. Okay. So if we're ready, I'm gonna take my pasta and put it in the water. When the pasta goes in the water, give it a stir. Some people ask about putting oil in the water to stop it sticking. If you stir it once in a while, it won't stick. If you want to put some oil in, that's fine, but there's no need to. So while the pasta is boiling, now we can come to our sauce, okay? So with the sauce, at this stage, hopefully it's ready enough. I'm gonna take out the stalks of the basil. I'm gonna take them out. So I'm gonna take them out, the leaves, you can leave them out. And now at this point, if you want, if we cook the sauce with the skins, this is when we would pass it, okay? If you want to blend it, now you can blend it. The problem with blending it is it's gonna become a pale color. It's gonna become paler. You can mash it with a potato masher, but I'm gonna leave mine chunky. I'm gonna leave mine chunky tomato sauce. So I'm gonna take my sauce and I'm gonna put some, not all of it, I'm gonna put some in the pan. Like this.
Michael, we cannot use it like this. We need to blend it or pass for the machine.
So if you want to blend it, then you can blend it now.
But we can use like this rustic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm using it rustic style. Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Okay, thank you.
Again, normally, pasta alla Norma you would make with a pre-made tomato sauce. You would have this. But then it's a pretty boring lesson because you're just basically frying eggplants.
I have too much water.
Don't worry. Then what you do, if you have too much water, put it in your pan, get it hot, and get the water out. Get the steam. Get it to steam off.
Okay. I have way too much water also.
Okay. If you have way too much water, you can lift the tomatoes out with a slotted spoon.
Aye, slotted spoon. That's right. Okay.
Okay. And then you can either put it in the pan or put it into a jar to blend it. Again, ideally, you cook the sauce until it's done. I'm just pushing ahead because we probably all want to get back to our lives. Let's eat. So keep an eye on your pasta, give it a stir.
How long the pasta should be cooking?
Allora, this is going to depend on your pasta. My pasta takes about 14 minutes.
Oh.
Nitsa, the pasta in the packet, you can see how long you need to cook it.
Yeah,
I personally don't like el dente. I like it soft.
Well, I'm afraid that's wrong.
I knew you were going to say it. How can Italian guy can say that el dente is not good?
I only cook pasta one way. There's only one way to cook pasta, okay? Now, I agree, so I've eaten out here, sometimes you get pasta which is just too firm. It should be cooked the whole way through, but it should have a bite in the middle. It shouldn't be crunchy.
Okay, I'll try to do it.
I agree, sometimes people take al dente to it.
About pasta.
But al dente just means that you should feel it, it should have texture. With this pasta, which is an artisanal pasta, if I cook it too long, it's going to fall to pieces. So I need to keep an eye on it.
That's the 1 million question always, how the pasta should be, you know?
Okay, here's a good rule of thumb for finishing any pasta. If the packet says cooked in 10 minutes, you set your alarm for 8 minutes. You take the pasta out and you finish cooking it in the sauce.
I see.
This also gives you a lot more time to control it because the pasta will cook slower in the sauce. Even if it has 2 minutes left, it'll take maybe 5 minutes to cook in the sauce because there's less water.
Point. Yeah.
So this way you get more time to have a control over it. Personally, if it says 10 minutes, I would probably take it out at 6 minutes. But if you like it softer, then that's what I would do.
Thank you, Chef.
So what are we doing now with that big frying pan?
Okay, so what I did is I took some of my sauce and I put it in. So I'm heating it up. Mine also had a little bit too much water, so I'm evaporating the water off. But it's pretty good now. And I'm going to check my. So. When I'm checking the pasta, if I want to check it's cooked, what I'll do is I'll take a piece. I'll take a piece and I'll cut it. Now, I can show you that, I mean, the normal way is you would eat it and you see if it's ready or not. I'm going to see if you can see this. Can you make out there's a little, I don't know, I won't focus on it. There's a little white line. I don't know, you can't really see it.
Maybe a little bit fine.
But basically when I cut through it, I can see a little white line around the middle. And that's the piece that's not cooked yet, so I know it's not ready. Normally you just eat it. And if it's still crunchy, it's still got time to go.
Michael, Claudio is asking if you can show you again the pasta, please.
Want to take a picture?
No, the problem is it won't focus on it, so, but I can try. The problem is I edit, so I'll get another one. I don't know if you can see it.
We imagine this.
Okay. As the pasta is starting to become almost cooked, Now I'm getting closer to bring it all together. So I have my pan here. My pan's actually starting to dry out a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is at this stage, I'm gonna take a ladle, and I'm actually gonna take some of the water from the pasta, just a little bit, and I'm gonna add that in. But when you're using the pasta water, you don't want to get too carried away because the pasta water is salty. So every time you're adding pasta water, you're also adding salt. So always keep a spoon nearby, and just to make sure that you're on the right lines, have a little taste. Okay, good. Also with mine, I'm gonna add a bit more sugar. It's not quite sweet enough. I'm gonna add a little spoonful of sugar now.
I can't resist the urge to blot the oil off of the eggplant.
We're gonna get there. We will do it.
I can't resist the urge, and I'm sitting here doing it. Look, my paper towel.
Don't worry, we're going to do it. It's part of the recipe.
Oh, we are.
The last thing we do with the eggplant is we're gonna pat it with paper.
Ah, okay. So I'll hold off then, my instincts.
Don't worry about it yet. Okay, so I can tell with my pasta, it's starting to break. So I know that mine is almost ready. But just to make sure, I'm gonna try a piece. Yeah, a little bit messy here. Okay. So mine is almost ready, but it's not ready yet. So I'm gonna put it into the sauce now. So I'm gonna try and set this up in a way that you can steam it in both things. So I'm gonna take the pasta and put it straight into the pan.
Wow, it looks beautiful.
Okay. And keep the cooking water close, because we might need it. And now we're going to make this pan really as hot as it can go. Now, if you want to try this, okay, I'm going to recommend something. Before you start to toast the pasta, if you're not sure how to do it, take a small pan and put a dried pea in it. And you can practice it with a dried pea. Don't do it now, but in your own time. If you don't want to toss the pasta in the pan, then just stir. It's fine. Now it's the same thing. If it starts to dry out a little bit, I'm going to add a little bit of water from the pasta cooking water. This is where it's never hot enough. I want it to be hotter. I want it to be as hot as possible. Because we want to cook it all together, get it to the right consistency, get it to the right, to cook the pasta to the right moment. And again, at this stage, you want to be tasting all the time. Taste yourself. And taste the pasta. Make sure that the seasoning is good. Okay. How's it going? Everybody happy? Frustrated?
We still have waiting. The pasta is not cooked yet.
It's a shame I'm not there to see if that's true.
Well, the instruction in my pasta box is in Turkish. I don't understand.
I think mine is okay. It looks like it's okay.
Okay.
But I'm still frying the extra aubergine. It took a long time for some reason.
The other problem is because yours cook very slowly, the aubergine, so it absorbs more oil. That's another reason why the oil needs to be hot. But then it cooks quickly and it absorbs less oil. When you put it into cool oil, or if you put too much in at the same time, it kind of soaks it all up like a sponge.
I think I put too much oil, actually. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, man. Okay, mine is ready. Mine pasta is ready. So what I'm going to do now is prepare the aubergine for this. So the next thing with the aubergine is, as we've been saying, is we're going to pat it down with some paper. So what I'll do. Where's my aubergine? Oh. So now I'm going to take my eggplant and put it onto some paper. Oh. Okay. I'm going to take some more paper and I'm going to give it a little pat. So this is last minute just because now it's had as much chance as possible to drip dry. And now we're going to take off the last little bit of excess oil at this moment. A lot of people would skip this. The only thing is, because the eggplant is cooked, it's very delicate. So you don't want to squash it. You squash it, you're just going to ruin it, okay? So once you've given it a pat, now it's going to go into the pasta as well. Okay. Now what we want is a little bit of basil, not the ciuffetti, which we kept to the side, but if we can get a couple of leaves. Now, a lot of people here would say you should never cut basil, but I think if you have a sharp knife, you don't want to chop it, that's for sure. But what I'll do is I'll just bunch it together, take my knife, and just slice through it. Be careful not to crush the basil. And now this is going to go in as well.
Why don't you want to cut the basil?
Allora,
Why do you not want to cut the basil?
I've kept the little tops to decorate. And then I have some leaves to put in the pasta. If you have any extra basil, this is where you're going to put it. These little ciuffetti we keep. Okay. So here we have the pasta, tomato sauce, basil. Now the last touch, okay? A little bit of the pasta cooking water. Extra virgin olive oil. Always some extra virgin olive oil at the end. So this is going to be raw. This is raw oil. It's not cooked. So you can put as much as you want. It's very healthy. A good splash of oil. And then you want to mix it all together. Okay. Now this is your last chance to taste it. Make sure it's okay. One. Okay, everybody ready?
One moment, Chef.
The next thing you're going to need is a plate. Like a big plate, a serving plate. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and put the whole lot.
We are ready.
Okay.
Can you see this?
Nice. Okay. So the last touch to this. This is I'm going to put the cheese and the little extra basil leaves on top. Here's my ricotta, whatever you have, and a grater.
Ahí está.
Dame un segundo, ¿qué le estás poniendo en el...
Pero se la vamos a poner encima, dice.
Pero se la puso ahí.
No, ya la puta.
Ricotta or pecorino or parmigiano. Now we're going to put on our little leaves. Little perspective. Bene.
Wow, Chef, it's amazing.
So I'm gonna take my camera down.
Yeah.
I can also show you, that's a bit of a mess. I can show you one of the things we have just as a distraction, since I've now got the camera off, at the school, is that we have these big paintings. Which, let me see, can you zoom on this? There. So each of these paintings is like a different epoch of time in Sicily. So this is like the Arab period, the Roman period, the Greek period, prehistory, Normans, Spanish, Bourbon. So with each one, we have like the details of what they brought with food, what they contributed to farming or whatever.
This is mine.
Beautiful. I love it.
I made it.
Oh, brilliant. Can everybody show their own so that we can take a nice picture?
Okay. You want to see everybody's?
I don't know how you people can do all these cameras. Right.
Oh, the beautiful masterpiece. 3, 2, 1.
You all look great. Huh?
Gabi!
Fantastic.
Liliana, show yours.
Diana, show yours.
It's all here.
Tanya, more up, please. Yours more up. You cannot see it. Tanya, can you put your plate a little bit up?
I cannot see anybody.
Thank you. This was so wonderful. I realize how much I don't know about pasta. We always think it's such a quick recipe, but actually there's an art and process. Thank you.
Michael, thank you so much.
Allora,
I think that you let many people like, I don't know, but I want to go to Sicily now.
yeah, everyone should come to Sicily. So.
Bravissimo, bravo.
Thank you, Michael.
It was amazing. The kids are hungry, so.
Well, hopefully, if you make it again, then you can take your own time over it. Normally, if I was doing this, you could say, it is quite a quick task because you would normally use a pre-made pasta sauce or a tomato sauce. If you were making a sauce like this from scratch, you would normally maybe make 10 kilos at a time so that you have it to use for other recipes. And it only took a long time and because we were doing everything, making a fresh sauce and doing everything else. But anyway.
I cooked the tomato 2 hours before.
Yeah, that's the better way to do it. That's a good way to do it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Bon appetit, everyone.
Buon appetito.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
This is me, Alicia.
Oh, good. I think that we have Tanya.
Yes.
Something to say, because for today is the Israel last day. I was hoping to have this video for you ready, but I think that I will send it to by email. Please don't cry.
How could I cry with such a wonderful group? You have saved so many of us during this lockdown. We've challenged ourselves. We've learned something new. We've learned to be creative and a little bit daring. And at the same time, we've been able to feed our families with new recipes. I can't tell you how impressed my family was. And I only have all of you, my friends, to thank for that. And I'm just going to cry, but I have to say, Claudio's risotto, red wine, rice, even the children were crazy about this, and Ukrainian borscht. This one I have now down to a T, and I thank you all for helping bring me and the others out of the cave and the darkness that some of us were feeling, during this lockdown, and to celebrate life in a simple way through our creativity with food. And it wouldn't have been possible without you and your creativity and your know-how, and thank you. I will remember you always.
I need to say for my way, thank you to you, because I was telling everybody that somehow you are like kind of one of the soul of the group, because you are all. I mean, you was almost in all the lessons and participating a lot. And somehow we forgot about this COVID in those 7 weeks. And we did together, thanks Michael, thanks all the chefs, and participated without, thinking twice. And all of us and cooking, because believe or not, this kind of work, no? 1 hour twice a day, so twice a week. So it was a lot of work, but nice work. Thank you to you, Insre. I hope you have like a really nice travel. I have the dog, sorry. I want to participate too. In your next post, in your location. And for my side, I say I hope to see you soon. I hope to see you again to teach you, for my side, the bread, the sourdough. And it's my pendant with you.
Thank you. Come visit us in Lithuania when all of this is over. We'll be there for at least 3 years. So we're there. We just need COVID to you know, all of these restrictions to be lifted, and I will be waiting for you.
Yeah.
Or we meet midway somewhere in Ukraine. You know, it's a nice flight to Ukraine, also easy from Turkey and from Lithuania. But
To organize a tour.
yes.
Also from the cameraman, I want to say thanks to everybody. Just next year, for the next COVID-20, learn how to mute yourself, please.
I mean, but tomorrow we have French cuisine. And I think that one plan for the future could be to go to Sicily, visit Michael and for his hand.
I fully support.
And you know, kudos to the Sham group. This is the only club, the only thing about Sham that has been active and alive during this lockdown. And Tanya, this is because you are coordinating with Alicia, and you've been so creative and so wonderful, really. I think that all of our other the sections of our group will learn something from this. And if we end up on a lockdown again, which unfortunately does seem likely, this group is going down in Sham history as the first one to zoom in and go to action and, you know, be active and creative, and really, it's been amazing. And thank you also, because I am not a techie person. When someone told me Zoom, I said, what? I can't do that. I you know, but you made everything so easy and accessible to people. And thank you so much. And to our wonderful chefs who participated, including this one tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy the pasta, otherwise it gets cold.
I'm sure. Thank you for your personal contribution once again.
Tanya, I think you want to say something.
Yes, I wanted to thank Amser for her personal contribution, for supporting this group going on, and for everything she did for Sham, for ladies in Ankara. You've been a soul to this group and to Sham ladies for all these years you've been here, and for the school also. Thank you so much, dear.
Thank you, Tanya. Love you all. Be happy, healthy, number one, you know, and we'll get through this. We'll get through this together.
Yeah, we will.
We're not saying goodbye.
No,
Thank you,
not.
Serena.
Until we meet again, right? Next recipe.
The last 2 months, okay? I've been
Bye-bye,
working
everybody.
every day, using it for the last 2 months.
Thank you. Keep in touch, Ingrid.
A long life to Sicily. Thank you, Michael. I spotted that you forgot your Irish accent, and now you speak with an Italian accent. Excellent.
Depends. If I drink 4 Guinness, it comes back.
You've been conquered.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Ciao. Thank you very much, guys.
Bye-bye. Ciao.
Bye, everybody.
Ciao. Bye-bye. Thank you for the invite as well. Thank you.
They are eating already.
Say hi. Hi.
Bye. I need to touch here to do like this.
Ciao, guys.